Hi there, my name's McComas. I'm the custodian of Sanskrit, which is the classical language of India.
Fantastic. So, have you ever seen a budget cut like this before?
I've been around the Faculty of Asian Studies, as it was, and CHL since 1979. That is now ancient history. We have never seen anything like this before. This is really the biggest cut that anybody's ever experienced. And I'm so sad to see something that the nation has loved and treasured for decades really being undermined. We've always been very special. Now maybe we've been a little bit elitist, but I don't think our current Vice-Chancellor minds us using the word elitist. We have been elitist and we have been special. And it's so sad to see what makes Asian Studies at the ANU special. It's so sad to see this just being washed away for short-term financial gain.
Very true. What are your experiences with online language course delivery?
Now, I've been teaching online. I've been teaching Sanskrit online for nearly 10 years now. And I would see myself as one of the leaders in innovation when it comes to online learning. But here is an irony. I would much rather be teaching face-to-face if I could. The only reason I teach online is that I have to. There are simply not enough students in any one place to make Sanskrit viable. So I require myself to teach online to get the enrolments. And by teaching online, I've been able to build up the Sanskrit program to 40 fully enrolled students, plus another 14 students coming through the CCE audit program. Now, I wouldn't say the only reason, no, let me say this. The only reason I teach online is I have to. I'd much rather be teaching in a bricks and mortar classroom, but it's simply not feasible for rarely taught languages like Sanskrit, Hindi, Thai, Vietnamese. We need to move these languages online. We back them up with live tutorials, web conference tutorials, but, and all my colleagues would agree, we need to teach online because we have to. I always say that live Sanskrit is better than video Sanskrit, but video Sanskrit is better than no Sanskrit.
Very true. So do you think that online courses can be as effective as face-to-face courses, or is there a very big difference in the quality?
I would always rather be teaching face-to-face if I could. I think the quality is always going to be better. I do have some on-campus students for Sanskrit. The numbers are too small to say which cohorts do better. Obviously, when the communication is not mediated through the internet, it's more direct, it's more personal, it's more satisfactory. But frankly, if we weren't teaching online, we wouldn't have a Sanskrit program.
So what do we have to lose by bringing languages such as Vietnamese, Burmese and less commonly taught languages into online courses rather than face-to-face?
I'm not sure we would lose anything, because at the moment we would normally have, say, 10 students in Thai and Vietnamese, and maybe 15, or in a good year maybe even 20 in first year Hindi. But to become the national provider of these languages, we need to broaden our reach. We need to be able to reach out to students in other cities, students in other universities. Now, we can cross-fertilise our online teaching with intensives on campus. I haven't got a problem with that. And I really don't have a problem with having content online as well. What is really important is that the students still have quality interaction, firstly with their instructor, and secondly with their peers. Now that's much harder to organise online, but it is still doable.
Right, so what are your thoughts on the overall budget cut? Do you think it can be justified by the college's explanation that they've given you?
We have been very unhappy with the financial explanations. This is said to be a financial problem. CHL is said to have a financial problem. We've been told that we are $1 million in debt, $2 million in debt, $4 million in debt, $7 million in debt. We haven't seen any reliable financial figures. One of the huge imposts on CHL is the fact that the cap tax, that is the tax that the college charges CHL to administer this vast sprawling bureaucracy, has risen from nothing to $1.7 to $2.5 million a year. And now here's another point. Teaching languages is always going to be expensive. The ANU wants the glory and the cachet and the prestige of teaching languages, but it will have to be prepared to pay for them. Teaching languages is expensive. The enrolments will never cover the cost of the tuition. But if the ANU sees itself as having a national role, as being a national leader, it simply has to be prepared to cover these costs. If it doesn't, that's fine. Let's be frank about it. The ANU might say, I'm sorry, that's it for Asian studies. We're not going to teach Asian languages anymore. We're happy to be a second-rank university and we'll cut it. But what pains many of us is the fact that the ANU is maintaining the rhetoric of excellence, of national leadership, of long-term commitment to languages, but they are not prepared to cough up the money that is needed to sustain these programs.
Fantastic. Do you think it's possible to consistently deliver quality language courses when staff are on limited 3-year contracts?
It's hopeless trying to deliver a language program if the staff are only here on 3-year contracts. The students are going to be totally unsettled. Who's going to enter into a 3-year major if the language teacher only has 3, 2 or 1 year to go in their contract? I think this is going to be a disaster for our enrolments. I predict that our enrolments will crash and then the languages really will be unsustainable. We've worked very hard to build up the enrolments to where they are now, and we see these changes as undermining all of the good work that we have done.
So what benefits do you see from the continuation of teaching less commonly taught languages at the ANU?
Some famous person, and I can't remember who it is, said that every time you learn a language, you acquire a new soul. Now, of course, I don't really believe that, but every time you learn a new language, a whole new world opens to you. This is something very, very special. The fact that we teach Thai, Vietnamese, Hindi, Sanskrit, Tetum, we are almost the only place that teaches any of these languages now. We've lost Javanese. Javanese is the first language of 75 million of our nearest neighbours. And we don't teach it anymore. We've cut it. And this is a national tragedy. We've cut Tibetan, the language of one of the major Buddhist religions, the language of one of the most culturally important and environmentally significant areas of the world. We've now cut our Tibetan program. Once these programs are cut, it's almost impossible to get them back again. We've got a treasure here in our less commonly taught languages. We are the only suppliers, we're the only providers of these nationally, at least to major level. Once we've lost them, they've gone for good.
Do you think that ANU can continue to offer language education of the current quality if these cuts are put in place?
I can see no way that the ANU can maintain its quality, its reputation, its status if these cuts go ahead. The really scary thing for us is the fact that the 19 full-time equivalent language teachers in Chinese, Indonesian, Korean and Japanese is being cut back to a rump of a language department of 7, of whom 6 will be teaching, and the rest will be made up of part-time casual teachers. We've been told PhD students who are native speakers and academics from other disciplines who know a little bit of the language. So that will be great if you want to order your breakfast in Bahasa Indonesia, if you want to flag down a tuk-tuk, that is absolutely fine. But the ANU has a reputation for undertaking deep, serious, scholarly research in these languages. And this will not be possible without deep, serious, scholarly language instruction, language education. And this is what we're losing. It is all going out the window.
Do you have an alternative model to the budget cuts you've been making as a staff?
No, how am I going to answer that? Do we have an alternative model? In the past, Asian languages were largely self-sufficient. We taught Asian languages, we taught non-language Asian studies courses, and before CHL we were financially self-sufficient. It's only with this structure, which is imposed upon us by the university, that our finances have gone haywire. And our biggest concern, my biggest concern, is the cap tax that I mentioned earlier, which has now grown to $2.5 million. So the money that we earn in student income, so much of it goes in supporting the vast, sprawling bureaucracy that CAP has become.
So this tax is taken every year from the college.
It's
just
taken,
goes to CAP.
It's taken every year. This tax is taken every year from CHL and is paid to CAP to pay for what we regard as very poorly delivered services, a vast infrastructure. Anyone who walks through the Coombs building will be surprised to see there is corridor after corridor of CAP bureaucracy, which is all paid for by our student income. So what has happened is CAP has bled us dry, and then they turn around and say, oh, you're financially unsustainable, we have to cut you.
Would CAP also be funding the Coombs renovation then? Possibly using
no, I think
that's
coming from a different fund. That's coming from a building fund. That's a different pot of money from the federal government.
Okay.
I do wonder sometimes.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So I guess finally, do you have any additional comments that you would like to make?
The ANU has got something really, really special here. Our Asian Studies is a national leading program. We are the national providers for small enrolment languages. We've worked hard to build up these programs, and we're so sorry to see the CAP plan not only making its own lofty ideals and noble sentiments unattainable, it's also undermining all of the excellent work that we've achieved over the last few years.